Alright, here's an ESA's 800-word expansion of key point 1D as written in a smooth, story-driven style as if Matthew Hussey himself is delivering that part of the speech too. You know what's fascinating? Most people think the magic starts with some secret move or a trick they read somewhere on the internet. They picture this one golden technique that will make someone's eyes roll back and think, "Oh my God, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me." But the truth is, the real magic starts way earlier. It starts before you even do anything. It starts with how comfortable you both are and how confident you feel in the moment. Because here's the thing, if you're tense, if you're in your head thinking about whether you're doing it right, if you're worrying about how you look or what they're thinking, you're not really there, you're performing. And a performance is never as captivating as authenticity. You can do all the right moves in the world, but if they sense you're nervous or second guessing yourself, the energy drops instantly. On the other hand, when you're relaxed, when you're enjoying yourself, when you're not rushing to impress them, it changes everything. Let's be honest. Confidence is ridiculously attractive. Not arrogance, not bravado, but that grounded kind of confidence where you're comfortable in your own skin, where you're sending the message, "I'm here with you, I'm enjoying this, and I'm not in a hurry." People feel that, and they respond to it in ways they don't even realize. They lean in, they trust more, they let go of their own walls. But comfort isn't just about you, it's about him too. And a lot of people forget that. If he's feeling self-conscious, if he's unsure how you're feeling about him in that moment, if he thinks you're judging him, or that this is some kind of test, he won't relax either. And when someone's not relaxed, they're not fully present. That's why creating that sense of safety and ease is so powerful. It's like you're setting the stage for everything else to happen naturally. And let me tell you, creating comfort doesn't mean killing the excitement. Some people think comfort means boring, predictable, or slow. Not at all. Comfort just means the absence of fear and self-consciousness. It means you both feel free to be fully in the moment without worrying about how you're coming across. From there, you can actually be playful, you can turn up the heat, you can explore, because you're both operating from a place of trust instead of tension. I'll give you an example. Have you ever been with someone who was just so at ease with themselves that you found yourself relaxing without even trying? It's contagious. When someone is present, smiling, unhurried, and connected to you, you can't help but match that energy. Now imagine bringing that same vibe into something as intimate as this. You're not rushing to get to some imagined grand finale. You're not obsessing over what you think they want. You're letting the moment breathe. You're letting them feel you're there with them, not performing at them. Now, I know some people might say, "Okay, but how do I just decide to be confident?" And the answer is, you don't magically decide. You build it. You build it by reminding yourself of your value, not just in that moment, but in life. You remind yourself that this person already wants to be with you. That's why they're here. You stop making it about passing some invisible test and instead see it as sharing an experience. And you focus on what you're feeling, not on what you're supposed to be doing. Because confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about being unapologetically human. It's about owning the fact that you're both here to enjoy each other, not to judge each other. The moment you stop putting yourself under a microscope, your body language changes, your tone changes, your energy changes. And trust me, they will notice, even if they can't explain why. The funny thing is, a lot of the nervousness people feel comes from thinking they have to impress someone who's already impressed. Think about it. He's chosen to be there, to share that space with you. That means he's already on your side. So your job isn't to win him over, it's to enjoy him. And when you shift into that mindset, the whole atmosphere changes from, I hope I'm enough, to, we're already enough. And here's where it gets even better. Comfort breeds connection, and connection amplifies pleasure. The more connected he feels to you, the more he'll enjoy everything you do. Not because of some flawless technique, but because it's coming from someone he's emotionally open to. And the more you feel that connection to, the more natural, playful, and confident you become. It's a cycle that feeds itself. One last thing. When you're confident and comfortable, you give permission for things to unfold at their own pace. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't feel the need to constantly do something. Sometimes, the most powerful moments are when you just pause, look at each other, smile, and let that anticipation build. That's the kind of moment he'll remember. Not because of what happened, but because of how it felt. And that's the first secret. Before you think about technique, before you think about any fancy move, focus on creating comfort and radiating confidence. Get that right, and everything else you do will land 10 times better. Key 2. Do you want me to flow it straight into key point 2 tree so it feels like one continuous Matthew Hussey style speech? That way there's no break in rhythm. All right, here's your S800 word expansion of key point 2 Fantasesend, written in that same flowing, high energy Matthew Hussey styled. Here's where most people get it wrong. They learn one or two things that worked for someone else, and then they apply them like a script. The problem is, he's not someone else. He's a unique human being with his own preferences, his own sensitivities, his own turn-ons, and his own turn-offs. What works for one guy could be completely forgettable, or even uncomfortable, for another. Which means the real skill isn't memorizing a set of techniques. The real skill is paying attention. You can think of it like dancing. You can learn the steps, but when you're actually dancing with someone, you have to match their rhythm. If you're just going through the moves without feeling where they are, you're going to miss the magic. In intimacy, that means you're not just doing. You're reading, listening, adjusting in real time. A lot of people think communication in these moments has to be verbal, but that's not the only way. You can listen with your eyes, with your hands, with your intuition. Watch the little changes in his breathing. Feel the way his body tenses or relaxes. Notice if he's moving toward you or pulling back slightly. Those tiny cues are your roadmap. And when you respond to them, when you actually tailor what you're doing based on his feedback, spoken or unspoken, you're telling him, I'm here with you right now, not just doing what I always do. That's a powerful message. Now, here's the part that's really fun. When you get good at reading someone like that, you create this feedback loop. He feels seen and understood, which makes him relax more, which makes him more responsive, which gives you even more to work with. And before you know it, you're not just giving him an experience. He's co-creating it with you. That co-creation is where the best moments happen. Of course, this does require you to drop the ego a little bit. If you're too busy thinking, this is my best move, this always works, you're not leaving room for the possibility that this guy might like something different. And sometimes, he won't know how to tell you. People can be shy about expressing preferences. They don't want to come across as demanding or critical. That's why your job is to make it safe for him to express what he likes, whether that's through words, sounds, or even just his body language. One of the easiest ways to do this is to be curious without making it a big, awkward interrogation. A playful, like that, whispered in the right moment, or even a smile that invites him to show you more is often all it takes. The tone matters here. You want him to feel like his feedback is exciting for you, not like he's correcting you. And let's not forget, his preferences can change depending on the mood, the day, the energy between you. Just because something worked once doesn't mean it's the only thing that will work. That's why staying tuned in is so important. Every time you're with him, it's like starting a new chapter in the same book. You know the character, but you still have to read what's on the page today. Here's the thing. When you give someone the experience of being tailored to, of being understood in the moment, you set yourself apart instantly. Because so many people are still stuck in that copy and paste approach, just going through a routine. And you don't want to be routine. You want to be unforgettable. And honestly, tailoring your approach isn't just better for him. It's better for you. Because when you're truly engaged in what's happening, when you're tuned in to the other person, you're more present, more connected, and more able to enjoy yourself. You're not in autopilot mode, waiting for it to be over. You're right there, in the moment, experiencing it with him. Think about the last time you felt like someone really saw you. Not just looked at you, but saw you. You probably felt a kind of connection that made you want to open up more, to give more of yourself. That's exactly what happens here. The more he feels seen, the more he'll let go. And when he lets go, everything becomes more intense, more passionate, more memorable. So how do you get better at this? Practice noticing. It's that simple. In everyday life, start paying attention to people's micro reactions. See how their faces change when they hear something they like, or how their tone shifts when they're engaged. The more you train yourself to notice in normal conversations, the easier it will be to notice in intimate ones. And once you notice, act on it. Make those tiny adjustments. Test something slower or lighter or bolder. See how he responds and then follow that thread. What you'll find is that over time, you develop this almost psychic sense of what he wants without him having to say a word. And that's when you stop just doing something to him and start creating an experience with him. That's when it stops being about a technique and starts being about a connection. And when you get that right, trust me, he won't forget it. Because in the end, the secret isn't in the move itself. It's in the way you make him feel like the move was made just for him. Here's your Asian's 800-word expansion of key point 3 as in SH, in that same flowing, charismatic style. 2. Most people think the whole thing is about one sense, touch. They put all their focus there, like that's the only channel you have to work with. But when you limit yourself to just that, you're missing out on so much potential. The truth is, the most unforgettable experiences aren't just physical, they're multi-sensory. They make someone feel engaged on every level, in ways they can't even fully describe afterward. Think about it like this: when you go to a concert, it's not just the music that makes it incredible. It's the lights, the crowd, the atmosphere, the way the lead singer locks eyes with someone in the front row. It's a complete experience. In the same way, intimacy isn't just about what your hands or your mouth are doing. It's about what your eyes, your tone, your whole presence are saying. Eye contact is one of the most underestimated tools you have. Used at the right time, it can be electric. It creates this direct line of connection that bypasses words entirely. Sometimes, just looking at someone in a certain way tells them more about how you're feeling than anything you could say. It says, "I'm here with you in this moment." and it pulls them deeper in. You can be doing something incredibly simple physically, but if the eye contact is there, the intensity multiplies. Then there's your voice. People forget that your tone, your breathing, even the little sounds you make are part of the whole experience. A whisper, a laugh, even a single word said in the right way can completely change the energy. You can guide him without instructing him. You can encourage, tease, or slow things down just through your tone. It's subtle, but incredibly powerful. Touch, of course, is still a huge part of it. But I'm talking about expanding your definition of touch. It's not just about one specific place. It's about exploring. A light brush on his arm, fingers running through his hair, your hand resting on the back of his neck. These things might seem small, but they add layers to what he's feeling. It's like seasoning a dish. You don't have to change the main ingredient, but a little extra flavor makes it unforgettable. And it's not only about the senses you're giving. It's also about what you're letting yourself feel. If you're actively engaged with all your senses, you become more present. You notice the texture of his skin, the sound of his breathing, the way his heartbeat changes. That awareness makes you more responsive, more connected, and that connection is something he will absolutely feel. The beauty of engaging beyond the obvious is that it slows everything down. When you bring in more senses, you're not rushing from one thing to the next. You're savoring the moment. And when you slow down, you create more anticipation. He's not just waiting for one specific thing to happen. He's on the edge of his seat, not knowing what's coming next. And that's where excitement really builds. What's interesting is that when you use more senses, you also give yourself more ways to communicate without words. You can reassure him with a look. You can challenge him with a smirk. You can calm him with a gentle touch. And he will remember these little details. They're the things he'll replay in his mind later, even more than the main act. Some of the most powerful moments happen in between the obvious ones. When you pause, when you lean in, when you just stay close and let the energy hang there. In those moments, he's not just feeling the physical, you're letting him feel you. And when he feels you, when he senses that this isn't just a mechanical act, but an actual connection, it changes everything. People sometimes underestimate how much emotional and sensory connection amplifies pleasure. They think if they just do more, physically it will be better. But often, it's not about doing more. It's about making more of what you're already doing by adding these extra dimensions. If you're combining touch, sight, sound, and energy, you can do less physically, but create an experience that feels 10 times more intense. So, if you really want to take it to the next level, start thinking of intimacy as a full body, full sense conversation. Every movement, every look, every sound is a message you're sending. And if you make those messages consistent, telling him, I'm here, I'm connected, I'm enjoying this with you, then no matter what else happens, he'll walk away remembering that you made him feel something far deeper than the obvious. Because in the end, it's not just what you do that makes the difference, it's how completely you make him feel like he's the only person in the world in that moment. Here's your 800-word expansion of key point 4 written in that same engaging conversational style. 2. One of the fastest ways to make something lose its spark is to make it predictable. When someone knows exactly what's coming next, the excitement fades, even if what you're doing technically feels good. Our brains are wired to respond to novelty. Little surprises keep us engaged, keep our senses sharp, and keep the moment alive. And the same is true here. Variety and playfulness aren't just nice extras. They're what turn a good experience into an unforgettable one. Now, variety doesn't mean chaos. It's not about constantly switching things up every 5 seconds just to be different. It's about reading the moment and knowing when to bring something new into play. Sometimes that's a change in pace. Sometimes it's shifting the rhythm. Sometimes it's introducing a small, unexpected touch or moving your focus somewhere new. Even the tiniest change can wake up his senses and make him feel like every moment with you is fresh. Playfulness is just as important as variety, and it's something most people forget once things get serious. We get caught in this idea that intimacy has to be this intense, cinematic scene every time. But the truth is, moments of laughter, teasing, and lightheartedness don't take away from the heat. They make it even stronger, because when you can make someone smile in the middle of an intimate moment, you're giving them more than just pleasure, you're giving them joy. And joy is addictive. Think about it. If you're playful, you're showing him you're comfortable. You're not afraid to break the serious mood for a second because you know you can bring it right back. That freedom to weave between sensuality and play keeps him hooked because it's dynamic. He never quite knows whether the next moment is going to make him laugh, sigh, or melt. And that uncertainty is thrilling. There's also something about variety that keeps you present. If you're doing the same thing the same way every time, you can go on autopilot, and so can he. But when you're mixing it up, changing pressure, changing pace, trying a new angle, you can't help but stay engaged. And when you're engaged, you're paying more attention to him, which brings us right back to that earlier point about tailoring everything to his unique responses. And don't forget, variety doesn't have to mean huge, dramatic changes. Sometimes it's as subtle as slowing things down when he expects you to speed up, or pausing entirely just long enough for him to feel that delicious suspense before you start again. Sometimes it's switching between something gentle and something intense. It's like music. You don't want one long, flat note. You want highs, lows, pauses, and crescendos. That's what makes it memorable. Playfulness, too, can be subtle. It's in the way you smile at him when you catch him looking at you. It's in the way you lightly tease him about something you know he'll take the right way. It's in the way you make him feel like he's part of a shared joke that no one else in the world gets. Those little moments aren't distractions. They're the glue that makes everything else feel more personal and more alive. One thing I've noticed is that people sometimes hold back from being playful or trying something different because they're scared it might ruin the mood. But the truth is, if you've already built comfort and connection, you can't ruin the mood. You are the mood. If you giggle for a second, the only thing that will happen is that he'll probably smile and fall even more into the moment with you. It makes everything feel less like a performance and more like two real people enjoying each other. And when you add variety and playfulness, you create moments that are harder to forget. It's not just, oh, that was nice. It's, remember when you did that thing out of nowhere. Or, I still think about that moment when you surprised me. You're giving him stories to replay in his head long after it's over. And that replay value is priceless. The other reason variety works so well is because it forces him to stay present. If you do the exact same thing over and over, his mind can wander, even if it feels good. But when you keep him guessing, not in a stressful way, but in a way that's exciting, his focus stays locked on you. He's watching, feeling, anticipating. And that means his experience is more intense without you necessarily having to do more. At the end of the day, variety and playfulness aren't about being flashy or performing. They're about reminding him that every moment with you is a little different, a little unpredictable, and a lot of fun. You don't just give him what he expects. You give him what he didn't even know he wanted until you gave it to him. Because when you can keep him surprised and smiling while still turning up the heat, you don't just hold his attention. You make him crave the next time. Here's your 800-word expansion of key point 5 hose in that same natural, connected style. There's this moment that a lot of people overlook. The moment after. When everything's winding down, when the pace changes, when you've just shared something intense together. And yet, for some reason, many people treat that moment like it doesn't matter, like the job is done and there's nothing left to give. But that moment can be just as powerful as the main event, sometimes even more so, because it's where you leave the emotional imprint. Think about the last time you had a really great conversation with someone, the kind that made you feel closer. The way it ended probably had a big impact on how you remembered it. If it ended abruptly, or with someone looking at their phone, it would feel unfinished, even if the conversation itself was good. But if it ended with a warm hug, a lingering look, or a few words that made you feel valued, it would stick with you. The same principle applies here. Aftercare isn't complicated. It's simply about being intentional in those minutes that follow. It's the way you make him feel safe, appreciated, and wanted after you've shared something vulnerable and intimate. And yes, intimacy is always a little vulnerable, even if no one says it out loud. You've just let someone see you in a way most people don't. You've shared energy, attention, and connection that doesn't just disappear the second it's over. For him, this is where the emotional connection can either deepen or fade. If he feels like you're already checked out, or that you were just there for the physical part, he'll notice, even if he can't explain it. But if you stay present, if you keep that connection alive for just a little longer, you're telling him without words. This wasn't just a moment, it meant something. That reassurance can make him feel more valued than anything you did before. Sometimes aftercare is as simple as staying close, literally. Letting your body language say, "I'm still here." It might be lying next to him, touching his arm, running your fingers through his hair. It might be holding him the way you'd want to be held. It's not about grand gestures, it's about warmth, and that warmth lingers in a way that physical intensity alone can't. And then there are the words. You don't have to give a big speech, but a few well-chosen lines can amplify everything he's feeling. Compliments are powerful, especially if they're specific. Not just, "That was good," but "I loved how you," or "I can still feel how you." Those little acknowledgements make him feel seen and appreciated. They tell him he's not just a participant. He's someone who brought something meaningful to the moment. It's also about emotional permission, letting him know it's okay to be soft, to breathe, to relax. A lot of men carry the weight of performance in intimate moments, always feeling like they have to be on. Aftercare gives them space to just be. When you make that space for him, you're doing something incredibly rare. You're allowing him to drop the act completely. And that's where real trust builds. The beautiful thing about aftercare is that it also works in reverse. It's not just for him, it's for you. When you linger, when you let the moment breathe, you give yourself time to process and enjoy what just happened. You get to feel the satisfaction of knowing you didn't just create a physical experience, but an emotional one. That's the kind of satisfaction that makes you want to come back for more. And here's something else. Aftercare can be playful too. It doesn't have to be all soft and serious. Sometimes it's sharing a laugh about something that happened, or playfully teasing him about a reaction he had. Sometimes it's lying there talking about something completely unrelated, but still feeling the closeness in the air. The key is, you're still connected. You're still in the same emotional space, even if the mood shifts. People remember how you make them feel far longer than they remember the specifics of what you did. If he walks away feeling not just satisfied, but cared for, understood, and wanted, that's what will play on repeat in his mind. That's what will make him think about you long after the moment's over. And if you think about it, the ending of anything, whether it's a date, a conversation, or an intimate moment, is often what defines the memory. You might have heard the saying that people don't remember days, they remember moments. Well, aftercare is where you create one of those moments, the kind that sticks, the kind that turns, "That was great," into, "I can't stop thinking about her." Because the truth is, what you do after isn't an afterthought. It's the final note in the song. And if you play it right, that's the note he'll be humming for days. Here's your 800-word expansion of key point 6 SS in the same flowing, intimate style. If there's one thing that makes all the difference, it's remembering that intimacy doesn't start when you touch someone, and it doesn't end when you stop. It's an energy that can carry on long after the moment itself. And that energy is what creates emotional intimacy. This is the part that turns something physical into something meaningful. Something that feels less like an act and more like a connection. For a lot of people, intimacy is treated as this isolated event. It happens, and then life snaps right back into normal mode, as if nothing just happened. But when you truly connect with someone, it doesn't feel like a break in the day. It feels like part of the bond you're building together. That's where emotional intimacy comes in. It's the layer beneath everything else, the part that's harder to see but impossible to ignore. Emotional intimacy is built in the little ways you treat each other before, during, and after. It's in how safe you make someone feel to be themselves without worrying about judgment. It's in how you share the moment, not just physically, but emotionally, letting them see a side of you that maybe no one else does. It's vulnerability, but it's the kind that pulls you closer together rather than making you feel exposed. What's interesting is that you don't always have to talk about it for it to be there. Sometimes it's in a quiet pause, a look, the way you rest your head against him. Sometimes it's in an inside joke you both get, or a moment where you make him laugh just when he doesn't expect it. Those moments become part of the story you're writing together. And here's the thing, when someone feels emotionally close to you, everything physical feels better. Because now it's not just about sensation, it's about meaning. Every touch feels different when it comes from someone you trust. Every kiss feels deeper when it's tied to real affection. That's why building emotional intimacy isn't separate from the physical. It's the foundation that makes the physical matter. One of the simplest ways to build it is by letting yourself be seen. That means being present. Not distracted, not thinking about your phone, not rushing to the next thing. Just being there with him completely. When you're fully present, he feels it. He knows you're not just going through the motions. You're actually in it with him. And when you give that kind of attention, it tends to come right back to you. Another part of emotional intimacy is generosity. Not in the sense of giving more than you get, but in the sense of giving your energy, your attention, your curiosity about him. When you show genuine interest, when you listen, when you remember little details, when you respond to his moods, you're telling him he matters. And when someone feels like they matter, They open up. They share more of themselves. They stop holding back. The more you create that space, the more he'll associate you with safety and connection. And here's the secret. When a man feels that way around you, it's addictive. Because for so many men, that kind of emotional openness is rare. They might not even have it with their closest friends. So if they find it with you, you become more than just someone they're attracted to. You become someone they trust with the parts of themselves they don't show anyone else. And trust changes everything. When trust is there, you can be bolder, more playful, more adventurous, because you both know you're not going to break the bond. You can try new things without worrying about judgment. You can laugh in the middle of something without killing the mood. You can pause without the fear that the moment will disappear. It's also worth saying that emotional intimacy isn't built in one night. It's built in 100 little choices you make over time. It's in showing up consistently, in being someone he can rely on not just when it's exciting, but when it's quiet. It's in remembering that the way you treat him outside of intimacy will affect the way he feels inside it. Because in the end, this isn't just about the highlight moments, it's about the thread that runs through all of them. That thread is what keeps him thinking about you when you're not around. It's what makes him feel like no one else quite gets him the way you do. And when you have that, the physical side will always feel richer, deeper, and more satisfying. Because the truth is, emotional intimacy is the real secret weapon. It's what turns attraction into attachment and a moment into a memory that never fades.